Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling.
And welcome once again to another edition of the Juice Box. I am here alone to start the show, but this is, of course, SummerSlam weekend, and the PLE is tomorrow. So, as always, I've got the one, the only Josh Isenberg in to do predictions with me. Had a great chat about the show. A lot of interesting potential things that we think are going to happen. We're probably going to be wrong on 90% of them, but man, if the 10% hit, it will be lit, as the kids say. As always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. You can follow him at Josh Isenberg 4. My Instagram is at Juicy Wrestling Closet. We got juicysteen.podbean.com. You can also find this show on Google Podcasts and on iTunes. And if you do listen to it on iTunes, please rate and review this show. Give it 5 stars. Or if you're like me, give it 5 straws. That would be fantastic. But without further ado, here's the SummerSlam 2023 prediction show featuring me and one Josh Isenberg. Enjoy.
And we are here in the Juice Box once again. We have a big PLE weekend, so there's only one person up until this point that's willing to deal with the rigmarole of predictions before these PLEs with yours truly, and that man is none other than J.I. Berg.
Yeah, let's go. It is exciting SummerSlam weekend, another PLE to talk to you about. Woo! And I'm excited. 8 matches on this card. You know, there's been some speculation and talk about other matches being taken off, which ones should be on the card, but the ones we have, 8 matches that all have intrigue to me, Juice. So I'm looking forward to taking a gulp and diving into these matches.
Absolutely. And yeah, we for a while it's been, you know, we have certain matches, but then maybe there's a stipulation added. Maybe it'll be, you know, some matches we thought were assumed to be on the card, they're now not on the card, and those matches with no stipulations still have no stipulations. So quite the SummerSlam smorgasbord here. Before, you know, this is the last stop before our true SummerSlam, which is Payback in Pittsburgh next month. Can't wait for that show. So the fallout from this show will be felt there, and I'm assuming one, if not both matches that were initially thought for this show will probably take place at Payback, which would be Rhea and Raquel, and then Becky Trish, which would be pretty cool to get 2 solid women's matches on the card like that.
Yeah, unless they do Becky and Trish, which they mentioned in Winnipeg in a few weeks. So I don't know if that. Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to actually have a definitive, outcome there and continue to prolong it a little bit. But that one interests me. I mean, I think Rhea can be felt even if she's not on the SummerSlam card. Right. The Becky and Trish thing, even though it's been kind of not the absolute best build-up, but you have 2 of the biggest names of all time. That one surprised me because you're looking at the card now, and you have the triple threat match for the women's SmackDown, the WWE Women's Championship over on SmackDown. That's the only women's match you have right now, which is very interesting to me because typically they try to have, you know, a minimum of 2, sometimes 3 or 4 matches.
They do.
Ronda and Shayna, that's right.
Ronda and Shayna, but there is only one women's title match, which is peculiar. Now, I will wager that. And the other part is that Dom Mysterio is not on this card. Now, I know he's the North American champion, but that, you know, and it's not going to prevent him from being at this show. We'll get into that because I feel like a Judgment Day of brewing. So let's just get into it. Let's start off with the Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal. Long ago are the days of the Domino's sponsorship for SummerSlam 94. We are now 2023, and we have Slim Jim proudly sponsoring a Battle Royal. We've had Cinnamon Toast Crunch, we've had Prime, we've had Mountain Dew Pitch Black, you know, everything under the sun. Now we get Slim Jim doing this Battle Royal. Honestly, it seems like this is only made for one man to win. as of right now, Chad Gable, Otis, Shinsuke Nakamura, Tommaso Ciampa, Sheamus, and LA Knight are the six. Yeah, the six competitors in this battle royal. They say it's 20 men. I feel like the last time a battle royal was on a major PLE that wasn't a pre-show match was the Andre from 33 maybe, or 32 maybe.
The Andre from 32, I think, because Shaquille O'Neal was there for that. Right?
Shaq was, yeah, but because the one at 33 was that Rob Gronkowski?
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
but was that a pre-show?
That was Mojo, and I don't know because the pre-show also had Ambrose defending the IC title at Mania 33.
I know because those shows before they became 2 nights were just like 13
7 hours. 7 hours would be actually.
So I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
But I know the past couple of years they've had the Andre Battle Royal on SmackDown.
I know that's even been relegated from Mania main card to pre-show to SmackDown.
Yeah, which it is what it is. But you look at this match though. It's got to be LA Knight. And I understand that people were really upset that he didn't win the tournament to become or to potentially become the United States champion by facing Theory. I thought that was such an easy, logical decision. But now him being on the SummerSlam card, Theory not being on the SummerSlam card unless he gets thrown into this battle royal, which I don't know why he would. I kind of wonder if they didn't want to give LA Knight his U.S. championship or something big like that on a SummerSlam card he's already going to be overshadowed by Cody and Brock, overshadowed by potentially an appearance from a legend, overshadowed obviously by Roman and Jay. He'd be the 4th or 5th most important thing on this card. So I try to justify that myself by saying that could be a reason why. He's still going to be on SummerSlam. Right. He's still going to be in this Battle Royal. I'm sure he'll cut a promo or do something backstage. But I wish that there was a reason that this Battle Royal was taking place. What's the prize? Aside from a lifetime subscription or a lifetime plethora of Slim Jims, maybe.
Slim Jim.
It's got to be LA Knight.
I would agree, and I tend to agree with your first point, saying that he would be overshadowed if he had a U.S. title match or what have you. I still think though that even though that's the case, I think this is like a surefire. Okay, assuming he wins, this is a surefire way to get an LA Knight entrance in front of Ford Field, which hasn't had a huge show since Mania 23.
Yep.
A huge entrance. You're right. He'll probably he'll be on the mic for some point, even if it's just to do his catchphrases, but that's all he needs. And then if he wins, that's a huge moment for all those fans to see him. It's again not pre-show, so they're going to be going crazy.
Yeah. And
it's going to almost be proof of, okay, this is a stadium show that's like all pun intended or pun unintended, all in for LA Knight. So I think it's kind of both of our arguments there that like he could get this moment, but it doesn't have to be for a major title. That can still come later. It's just let's get him this first big moment. Created this battle royal potentially for that. So I don't hate that. It's got to be LA Knight, and I actually think Theory could be in this battle royal and maybe gets eliminated by LA Knight or something. I think that could then bring him to have a shot at the title at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. It's the entrance. We know or we assume that Logan Paul and Ricochet are going to kick it off, as Logan Paul mentioned on his podcast a few weeks ago that he has requested that. I'm sure that they're going to want to do that, especially because he's going to want to see his brother Jake later that night. So if that wasn't the case, I think that you could have easily had LA Knight be the first entrance you heard at SummerSlam for this Battle Royal. But with that being said, I do think it could be the second match. Right after a really good spot fest of Logan Paul and Ricochet, you calm the crowd a little bit from the heat that Logan Paul gets and gets right back on your feet for LA Knight. So it's a good opportunity for them. But yeah, LA Knight picks up the victory here. If they don't, I don't know what the hell they're doing with this Battle Royal.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing I can hope for is that the ring posts are decorated like Slim Jims, like they were for Halloween Havoc. Let's get into that match that you said. I will also say LA Knight. Assuming this starts Ricochet versus Logan Paul. Now, you mentioned on his podcast how Logan Paul, he not only wants to be there in Dallas after being in Detroit for his brother's fight, he wants to walk his brother to the ring.
Yeah.
Which I believe it's almost a 3-hour flight nonstop from Detroit to Dallas. However, it's not going to be a commercial flight. It'll be a private jet. Apparently, the walk-out times are going to be 11 or so Eastern for the boxing. You don't know how long boxing matches go in the prelims. It could be a one-rounder. It could be the whole thing. So I think that's possible, and that would be – this is kind of a reach, but there are certain guys in the sport of NASCAR that on Memorial Day weekend they would race the Coca-Cola 600 after doing the Indianapolis 500. They were the same day, but they would do the Indy 500 earlier in the day and then fly to Charlotte to do another race. And this is similar to that, where he wants to pull off some crazy match with Ricochet, and then he wants to not only just be in Dallas but walk his brother to the ring. If he wins this match and then goes and does that and he's on screen for both, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think this will be a spot fest. I think it's purely based off of the amazing moment they had at Royal Rumble and figured, hey, let's get more out of this. They tried a spot at Money in the Bank. It didn't work, but at the same time, that made it work because there was controversy about it. Logan Paul kind of buried Ricochet and said he still wanted to do the move. I don't know what the hell I'm doing out there. And it kind of turned into, well, we're going to have a match at SummerSlam. This is probably Ricochet's highest profile match since being in WWE. And it's against Logan Paul. I'm going to say Logan Paul takes this. I don't see. I mean, Ricochet gets the rub. It's crazy for me to say this because Ricochet, I saw him win like PWG's Battle of Los Angeles. You've seen him do all these things in NXT and WWE, but this is like him getting the rub from Logan Paul because Logan Paul is a huge star right now. So I think him getting the rub just by being in the match, and I give this thing 12 to 14 minutes because I was looking at Logan Paul's splits. He was doing anywhere from 12 plus minutes every solo match he's done. The Roman match was almost 30. Yeah. But I say give him 12 to 14 and Logan Paul takes us. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Logan Paul winning this too, just because I think the money is in Logan Paul winning. And, with Ricochet, nothing against Ricochet in general. I think he's a great athlete. I still haven't gotten enough personality out of him to really feel him. And I think that's the problem. Logan Paul has this unbelievable connection with the crowd where they just absolutely can't stand the guy, even though he is better than 90% of the WWE roster in terms of attracting heat, in terms of attracting emotion, and also obviously being able to back it up in the ring. Aside from Ricochet being decimated by Brock Lesnar at WWE Super Showdown a few years ago, this is his biggest match and probably his best feud. But his best feud's not because of him. It's because of Logan Paul. So I think whenever you look at what happens next, I can see Ricochet kind of just relegated back to what he's been doing. And this isn't a hit or a diss on guys like Tommaso Ciampa or Shinsuke Nakamura or Bronson Reed, any of those guys. But they're not necessarily, main eventing Raws, but they're still putting on really good matches. And right. I think that's what we got to do is come to the realization that Ricochet is never going to be a world champion, never going to be a main event guy, but maybe he gets one upper mid-level card run as, a potential IC or US champion down the road. But again, to me, he is more of a guy that's a plug-and-play guy. Whenever you need somebody to put on a great match, you do that. Similar to whenever you need somebody to put on a great feud on the mic, you bring in The Miz. And they don't really ever they don't ever really lose value in that aspect. So Logan Paul picks up the win here.
Yeah, and you say The Miz, who was the guy that first really worked with Logan Paul? The Miz. I mean, Ricochet's a guy who's been, like I said, he's been wrestling for quite a long time now. He's as veteran as you get. And Logan Paul, his style in the ring, albeit less than 10 matches in his career, is kind of like Ricochet. He's got some high flying stuff. He's really kind of similar in that regard. So I think they'll mesh well, and hopefully less botched spots going forward.
Yes.
So that'll be fun to watch. Let's get into the singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. Drew McIntyre comes into this thing as an underdog against Gunther with Kaiser and Vinci beside him. This is, I think this match, I've said this, the Clash of the Castle and then Mania when these guys had the triple threat with Sheamus, and this could easily steal the show. These guys are going to beat the tar out of each other. My only hang-up is I have no problem Drew McIntyre being, potentially the guy that takes the belt from Gunther, because I ultimately want Gunther to begin a run at either world title now that there's two. I would love to see him go against Roman, but I think he could just as easily go against whoever the other champion is and win it. And then once you have a Gunther world champion run, you have the Sheamuses and some of these other guys are going to have crazy world title matches that are going to elevate that title. So I'm looking forward to that, but I need this to go off. His IC run needs to go off the best way possible, and I think that's by him waiting till, not like waiting to lose, them holding off on Gunther losing the title until he passes Honky Tonk Man. He's at 417 days right now. He needs to beat 454 days to surpass Honky Tonk Man as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. I think it's very doable. He would have to retain here, and I believe retain at Payback, and I think by the following week or a week and a half, he would surpass it. So as long as that happens, I am fine with Gunther winning here and it kind of waiting for Drew. If that's the case, I mean, you don't mention these things if he's not going to, surpass it. And we've mentioned it before about how they want to kind of change the records. It's just certain guys that are, currently on the roster so they can kind of build around it with a strong story or whatnot. But I think it's going to be great, and I have Gunther winning this in a absolute slugfest.
Yeah, me too. I just, with Gunther, I don't know what happens with McIntyre when he loses again. He lost at WrestleMania. He was gone for a while. The McIntyre being a potential world heavyweight champion seems so far away and so long ago. And I've always been, people complained about Cody losing at WrestleMania 39 in a much bigger, more important way than Drew losing against Bobby Lashley during the return of WWE crowd in Tampa, and I was there for that. I think that was a horrible decision because I think McIntyre deserved it more than anybody during the pandemic to get that live crowd and winning that championship there, but he didn't. And ever since then, it's not like he's been falling into the wayside, but it's more of why is he not back competing against Seth or competing against Finn or competing against whomever for the world championship. And, so if he loses to Gunther, how can we justify him competing for a world title? Because I don't know where he goes if he loses to Gunther. If Gunther loses it, yeah, he doesn't get the record, which I'm a proponent for him getting the record. Let's just say that. But he has a more realistic and more understandable case of, hey, okay, I was the champion for this long, and I never got the opportunity to compete for this title, even though I was kind of carrying this championship for, 400 plus days. So it's a hard situation to choose. I wouldn't be surprised if McIntyre claims the Intercontinental Championship. I do think Gunther wins it. I worry because if McIntyre loses here, I don't know creatively what they do next. Do they the only thing that I can think of is if they want to, they can put people around him like Gallus and NXT, who I think are primed for the main roster, not doing much in NXT since they just lost the tag titles and lost on NXT on Tuesday night. Bring them up because Drew has always been trying to fend off Gunther, Ludwig, and, the entire Imperium. So maybe that's something where he's looking for backup, but it's just, I don't want him to dwindle down to, mid-card status. And I don't think right now he's mid-card status, but could potentially be if he loses.
Right. Well, you say that, but I think we would agree that right now the IC title is well above mid-card status.
Yes.
By definition mid-card because it's not the main two titles, but the matches that Gunther's been having and it really elevates it. And I love your little throwback to NXT in 90 that you used to do by referencing some of these NXT guys coming up. I don't hate that either. In fact, we might see something similar to that, I think, in this match. I think you might see some group of two maybe coming in and interfering to kind of even the playing field. You wouldn't happen to think that could be RK Bro, do you?
So I initially thought that a few weeks ago. But just given how Riddle's been losing,
Right.
they've really soured on him, and you can hear rumors about they're doing that because his personal life is unstable, whatever. But I mean, he's been a professional every time he's on camera, so that's kind of hard for me to really chomp my teeth into. But I really wonder if they bring Orton back. Do you think that they'll bring him back for this situation? And I'm not sure. When Randy comes back, hopefully sooner rather than later, I want him to be important. So maybe that's where McIntyre can go is, maybe Orton tries to come and help and save them. And then that really just plants the seed of either Drew turning heel or Randy turning heel and Riddle kind of being in between both of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that either. Like you, I think, well, and it's not that they wouldn't make it, that they're not trying to make it important for if and when Orton would come back. I think no matter where he slides in there, it's going to be incredibly important because of how long it's been since he's been on TV.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You did mention Legends earlier returning, and we'll kind of navigate that in a little bit here. But I think Randy Orton's a potential guy that you could see return at this pay-per-view, PLE.
I hope so.
Whichever.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, it'd be great. I think he'd get a great pop. So I have Gunther. You have Gunther?
Yeah, got Gunther.
All right, let's do well, it is a MMA rules match, but I don't think it'll be in the octagon. It's not going to be in the fight pit, and I don't think it's going to be in the Lion's Den. So Shayna and Ronda Rousey, this is a straight-up grudge match if I've ever seen one or heard one. Not that I wasn't interested at the beginning of it, because I'm thrilled that they, of all people, turned Shayna on Ronda, although Ronda is not a great babyface. But I love the pluckiness of Shayna being, let's just face it, we all saw Ronda come in. We've heard about Shayna. We heard about her, and she's just like a friend. She's also in MMA, and then Shayna kind of carved her own niche in NXT, all while Ronda's getting her first match is a tag match with Kurt Angle and the McMahon Helmsley, and it's unbelievable, the stuff that she was getting while Shayna was kind of fortifying herself as a singles competitor and kind of working through the ranks. And that's exactly how they portrayed it in the video package this past week on Raw, which I thought was wonderfully done. And it gets me excited for this. I don't know. Are they gonna do a worked shoot work where they're gonna have an MMA rules match where you would think it's real, but they're also gonna work that because they really could. I'd love to see it. Just have them fight. That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
But I like this. The rumor, I guess, is that Ronda is going to be going away. Now, do we know if that's going away forever, or is that just going away for a little bit? Have you heard anything?
I think it's for the foreseeable future. I don't think it's a month or two and she comes back. One of the things that I feel like you can read people whenever they're not really fully invested, and it kind of just seems like the past 4 or 5 months Ron has been checked out. And again, this is just a perception from watching the product. I had that same feeling whenever, I think it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, when Kevin Owens during a Raw segment was just what in the F am I doing? He looked frustrated. Do you remember that, how that video surfaced when he left the ring? That's kind of how I felt multiple times with Ronda, where she just doesn't look like she cares to be there anymore. And that sucks because she was uber hot. She is the reason that women main evented WrestleMania 35. It wasn't Becky. It wasn't Charlotte. Without Ronda, that wouldn't have happened. Yep. And I think now she's coming full circle where she knows that there's nothing else she could really do in WWE, and I still don't think she just likes being booed. So at this point, why not put over her friend? And this is all about Shayna Baszler to me more than it's Ronda exiting, because the biggest part for me is going to be what happens to Shayna after this. And if you don't put Shayna, if you want her to be a face, great, a heel, great, whatever. But if you're not having her as a viable threat to Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw by, I would say, Survivor Series, then you're completely dropping the ball on her and trying to just squash any momentum that she could potentially get out after beating Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. So I got Shayna here, and honestly, I'd have Shayna tap Ronda.
I agree. I think Shayna should tap Ronda. You made a lot of good points there. With the checked out part, like Ronda came in and everybody was going to cheer her, right? And that was great. But it's tough when you come from MMA because there really are no faces or heels. It's more who has the most character, who has the most charisma, whether they're good or bad, because it's the performance that really dictates it in a legitimate sport.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, love him or hate him, but he would always have the most electric fights,
Yep.
stuff like that. So when Ronda comes into wrestling and they make her a baby face, that's great, and people will absolutely cheer her 1,000%. But if she can't, and it's not really, I guess it's her fault, but it's not really her fault of her own to be a good guy when you probably have never thought of yourself as like I gotta get into this character work and if once people started booing her because they saw her not being authentic as a face, they just didn't buy it. And again, I don't know if I put that as much on her as I do like creative saying, oh, people love you, you should be a baby face. Like I think she should have just leaned into being a heel and this match. Yeah, this match in particular is what I would have wanted almost all along with Ronda being hey, I did this first. I was the Brock Lesnar for the women here. I was UFC. I came here and I did all of this stuff and no one else has been able to do this. And now you want to come in and you think that I've been holding you down. I was the only one worthy of having these matches, like I think they could have leaned into that so much harder. But now, because of how things have gone over the last 5 years, which is hard to believe, it's been 5 years since Ronda's debut in WWE, that Shayna now is going to tell her that and say, hey, I had nothing, and I came in because everybody was talking about you, and now I'm putting you out. And I think she will tap out Ronda. I think Ronda has zero problem with that. And yeah, give me Shayna Rhea. Give me Shayna Raquel. Give me Shayna and any of the women on this card, Bianca, Charlotte, Asuka. Give me those with Shayna as Shayna being a legitimate threat. And I think you have another solidified woman on the roster finally. Because it's been, Shayna has been kind of with the tag team division for a bit. And she hasn't really had a singles run on the main roster to a level that she did in NXT. And I think if you tap out Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, I think the world could be yours. And I think they've added another solid, believable, damn sure believable woman on the roster. So
and that's what they need, Yeah. And that's what they need. They have great women, but it's constantly been a rotation of Becky, Bianca, Charlotte, Asuka to an extent.
Yeah.
So, there's only really been those four. Bayley, sometimes Bayley's out for an entire year. So.
Yeah, that's plug and play for the most part. You need another solidified one that is believable.
Definitely.
You can't give her a chance and then, it didn't work one time, so we're just not going to do it. You got to give it some time to marinate. And I think she's got the talent to put the asses in the seats, as they say.
That's right.
So give me Shayna. Let's go we've got 4 matches to go. Let's go the route of women still. Triple threat, we mentioned them earlier. Asuka defends against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. Hell of a rhyme scheme there. I don't know who I want in this match. Bianca finally lost her title, and then Charlotte shows up and is automatically inserted back into the title picture because she's Charlotte Flair, which is fine. If anything, I like it because I think I kind of want to see Asuka take this and prove that it doesn't matter who you put in front of her. These are 2 of the top women in Charlotte and Bianca that they've had over the last couple of years, and if Asuka can retain her title on a big stage like this, I think you give her more legitimacy. She had such legitimacy coming in when she did, and then when she lost to Charlotte, when the streak was over, and I think that it just didn't go the way that I thought it could. And I think now she was the one somehow to dethrone Bianca. I like Asuka to retain in this. I don't know how she's going to win, though. I don't know who takes the pin or takes a submission, but I'm going to have Asuka take this one.
So I think Asuka is probably the favorite here, and I agree with what you're saying about how Asuka really needs that big victory on a big stage because she really hasn't had it. The only problem that I have is there is still a disconnect with Asuka in the crowd. before any bell rings, before any face paint's on. This entire feud is predicated about Charlotte and Bianca, who deserves the match more, basically, right? It's more about these two alphas competing for a championship that's held by somebody else. And I hate this because I don't think it's always necessary to be able to just, oh, this person speaks English or speaks fluently, and that's why they're getting over with the crowd. That's why they're not, because that's Asuka's weakest point of her entire persona. She just doesn't speak well. And that should not take away from how great she is in the ring, her face paint, her presentation, her music, but it does. So in my mind, I would not be surprised, and I think I'm leaning towards Charlotte winning the championship here. And I can see them rolling a little bit with Charlotte as champion. And I think these three could be intertwined. I think there could be another triple threat match down the road. I mean, this seems like just the beginning of these three women fighting for this championship. So I'm going to go Charlotte because if anything shows us about SummerSlam and about the women's division is it's always unexpected. You know, I don't think anybody expected Liv Morgan to beat Ronda last year. I don't think anybody expected, Bayley and Io and Dakota to return last year, or Becky in Vegas a few years ago whenever Sasha was rolled out. So there's always something with the women at SummerSlam, I feel, over the past 4 or 5 years that you might not agree with it. It might you might scratch your head, but at the end of the day, you're like, okay, well, at least they surprised us with this. So I can see Charlotte winning based just solely on that, the surprise factor.
And if she does, she would then be a 15-time women's world champion, which, I mean, you're one loss and one win away then from tying your father, which I'm sure they'd lean into that even more. So I don't hate Charlotte winning. I think if you had to pick one that wasn't a retain here, Charlotte would be the one to take it. I don't think Bianca's going to get back into that slot just yet. I'm sure they're probably going to have her primed for a big WrestleMania run next year, be that maybe against Rhea Ripley. We don't know yet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think just 2 women's matches on the card, yet I think they really can deliver because one's a triple threat for a title, and the other one is probably the most grudge match you could probably have with these two. Ronda and Shayna have, I mean, this has been like a rumored match for years, ever since Ronda kind of came into the fold and Shayna had been around. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So the women, without the Becky Trish and Rhea Raquel matches on there, which I don't know why they weren't, although we're going to get into it in this next thing. I'm not going to do a match. We're going to go into the potential segment portion. I do believe Grayson Waller is going to have a segment on this show. Is that confirmed, unconfirmed?
It's unconfirmed, but I think it's been heavily rumored. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say it happens. If we get a Grayson Waller effect, or if we just get him coming out. Look, Cena came out at London for no reason, for, like out of nowhere. No, like you never would have predicted that. And I don't know. He's been calling out The Rock, and it's insanely frustrating that it takes some other guy not in the family to not only call out The Rock, but like WWE, this is fun, acknowledging that The Rock is being talked about, and like they're making it a thing. So is Grayson Waller gonna do something here? And The Rock during this Hollywood strike, is The Rock gonna show up here? And if he does, why wouldn't he just show up in the main event? Assuming it's Roman and Jay.
Yeah, so that's where I think it probably might not be The Rock, because if they're going to bring him back, I mean, nothing against Grayson Waller, but I don't know, man. It's, I'm going to throw this just a complete curveball, just thinking about everything that's going on.
I don't know. I have an idea, so I'm waiting to hear your idea.
Tell me your idea. Go ahead.
No. I already have. Are you just going to say another guy that it could be?
Yes.
Go ahead. I'll tell you who mine is, regardless if it's the same.
And I don't know why, but I can kind of see it being like a Batista.
Wow. Well,
Okay, I'll double down on that because where was the last time Ford Field had a huge show?
WrestleMania 23, where he lost the championship against The Undertaker. So you think The Undertaker, don't you?
I was going to say The Undertaker.
Okay. Hey, look, we're kind of on the same wavelength there. I'll take it.
Look, if it's Taker, Batista, or The Rock interrupting Grayson Waller, I'll take any of the three. I will take any of those options. I do think it's a good. It could be a good moment. I thought Grayson held his own with John Cena of all people.
Yeah.
So
and it doesn't need to be long either, by the way. Like, it doesn't need to be a 20-minute segment. It can be 5-10 minutes.
It can absolutely be 5-10 minutes. And I don't know. I'm thrilled. Like, they didn't announce it, but if it kind of if I hear his music and it's coming, something unique's gonna go down here because
with Edge.
That I could also see.
Just beat Waller in Madison Square Garden last month.
Yep, and he did say he swam, so he kind of has the respect. Yeah. I wouldn't hate that. So there's a lot of rumor. I mean, Grayson Waller might not even have a seg on the show, so we could be wrong across the board.
But I think we're right, because if they're only having 8 matches, they're cutting out a few. They're not cutting out those women's matches for nothing, And it's also the understanding that Roman and Jay is going to get 45 minutes of entrance and match.
That's literally what I was going to say. I was going to say they cut 2 matches out, but it's not even for those matches being good or bad. It's literally, and outside of any other match, I literally think it's just for the Roman Jay match, because it'll probably get 45 to 50 minutes of match plus story. So, which I'm here for. That's what I do. So. Get me into there. We'll still talk about that later. We got 2 more matches. Let's do the first of the 2 title matches, because it seems like Cody Brock is more important than some of the other matches for some reason. Let's go Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor, World Heavyweight title, running it back 7 years after the inaugural Universal Championship match at SummerSlam 2016, where Finn won the title, but unfortunately got powerbombed into the barricade and had to vacate the title the next night, unfortunately. But that was a great match, I recall, and they have wrestled since, but now the stakes could not be higher, and it's at SummerSlam, the same event, and I don't think we'll see the Demon. They really haven't announced that, so I think we're just going to get a really badass Finn Balor who's seemingly very determined to make... Not that he'd lost the match at SummerSlam, but he didn't win the war in SummerSlam 2016. He didn't. He won the title, but he had to give it away. So I think this is his redemption in his mind. I'm going to just say my prediction right now. I think Finn Balor is going to win the World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins, and I also think Damian Priest is going to cash that Money in the Bank briefcase in on Finn Balor and take it away from him, beginning the immediate feud between those two. You might get a triple threat at Payback for it. I don't know why I think that, but I think Finn's going to win this thing. I really have no backing of it other than they've wanted this title to mean something. Mm-hmm. And Seth has fought literally everybody, NXT guys, and he's been all over. Yeah. Now he gets Finn again. I think he slips up. Maybe Rhea and Dom aren't on this show, but they'll be at the show. I would wager. Yeah. So if they're there and something screwy happens, Finn gets the win. I'm not surprised if by hook or by crook, Damian Priest then cashes in for that moment, because that immediately turns, because Finn goes in as a heel, Rollins is a massive face. If Finn wins the title but Priest cashes in, Priest becomes immensely over, and I think that kind of gets what you want. Because Damian Priest is a heel right now as a Judgment Day member, but as soon as he cashes in on a guy that people don't like, it flips it. So that's my bold prediction for the evening. What do you got?
So I'm going to agree with half of what you said. I think Finn Balor does win the championship, but I think they tease Damian coming out and congratulating him, kind of Judgment Day embracing, where they have the briefcase suitcase. Yeah, they have the.
What do you have in that? What do you have in your Money in the Bank briefcase?
Crackers. So I can just see the Judgment Day. I think you tweeted this a couple of weeks ago about all of them being like Armageddon with the with Evolution. They all have something. So I see that being a part of a part of SummerSlam. And I think, Damian will give the look. Finn will kind of give the look now that he's concerned. And I ultimately think the cash-in could potentially happen a month later at Payback, because I think now, and you and I have talked about this, this is the fourth straight preview live event, third or fourth that we've done this together. And one of the things that both of us have said is WWE is on such a hot streak of PLEs, and they were lucky to have the hot crowd in Puerto Rico. And then obviously with Money in the Bank and the Saudi show, nothing against our hometown of Pittsburgh, but they're gonna have to do something to make that show memorable, to kind of continue that hot streak. And what better way than a cash in? And aside from Edge cashing in, on SmackDown against the Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship, we really haven't seen a big, huge moment like that where the landscape of world champions have changed. So it'll be interesting.
I tend to agree with that. And then even further down the road, they got, what is it? Is it Fastlane?
Yeah, Indy.
In Indianapolis, so they got to control that as well before they get to Survivor Series. So I agree with that. It is, and it's fascinating that of all places to get a quote show that's not only not a stadium show, but it's not international. It's kind of just like not middle of the road, but just not a big PLE. It's not Money in the Bank. It's not one of the big ones. So they're going to want to keep that momentum, because you would hate to schedule these other ones in Pittsburgh and Indy and have them fall flat whenever you guys are really, really firing on all cylinders right now. And I say that as a Detroit race car pun. I already brought up NASCAR, so I'm really doing well for this whole thing.
Really should. A couple of lube jobs over there.
That's right.
You need a new
Johnson rod here. Yeah, I'm sure you do. So yeah, I like Finn here, but I do think either way we'll see some sort of interaction with the briefcase and Finn. So let's get the popcorn ready. Speaking of popcorn, it seems very cinematic because they gave the greatest promo video of all time treatment to Cody Brock 3, a match with, again, zero explanation as to why this whole thing began. Yet we are here for the third match of hopefully trilogy between Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. I hoped and said for months that they would have a stipulation for this match. Doesn't seem like they're going to have that. That's fine. All that matters to me is that Cody Rhodes picks up the victory at the end of the day. Now, of course, again, more rumors, more speculation of potentially Bray Wyatt here to give Cody even more obstacles to climb as he tries to get back into the world title picture for Mania 40, which I'm going to say it now. I really think at this moment in time, August 3rd, when we're recording this, I think that the plan is going to be finishing the story at Mania 40, Cody defeating Roman. I would have been against it watching Mania 39 and seeing how it just crushed so many people. But I do think that they can play it well. They've got Roman doing his own thing. They have Cody doing his own thing. And I do believe that they can keep their paths kind of separate until they need to cross again. So that's where I'm going. I think Cody takes this. I guess if there's no stipulation, there's not going to be no DQ or anything. So I don't know if we'll see a blood or something like that. But just something tells me that this match should be more than the third match, I wanted to see
more than a third match without a stipulation, right? Like,
this not even a number one contender or anything.
Yeah, it's just another match. But, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be great to see Cody win clean over Brock.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what they're thinking is he beat Brock Lesnar in a one-on-one wrestling match. And we know Cody was an amateur wrestler, really good, but he's not Brock Lesnar. So maybe that's why they decided, and also with the tribal combat match, which is probably just going to be just a all-out street fight with everything going on.
Right.
That they didn't want to have the main events back-to-back, or not necessarily back-to-back on the card, but the two main events similar in that aspect. So when I look at it, I think I think Cody is the odds-on favorite here because he has to win. But I mean, going back to definitive wins, Shayna needs that definitive win against Ronda in a much smaller story,
Right.
a much more rushed story, I feel, even though we still don't know why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes, but
Right.
another story for another day. But,
Really?
Is there something that Cody does that either Brock taps or Brock taps out? I mean, taps out or passes out.
If Brock Lesnar taps out,
dang.
Cody Rhodes should get the world title tomorrow.
But you know what I'm saying, though, is like...
No, I know. It's got to be something memorable that kind of makes it stand out outside of... Because Cody beat Brock by, like, that roll-up in the Kimura. Like, he barely snuck by. I would love to see 2 or 3 crossroads and Cody just pinning him. That would...
Could do that, too, yeah. It has to be clean.
Yeah, I would love that. Brock did the thing to Cena when he obliterated him, and he pinned Undertaker clean. If Cody could pin Brock clean... That's something that you can really hold on to for a long time. That you don't. It's not a Royal Rumble, part of your resume, but that is how many people could say they defeated Brock Lesnar at this stage of his career clean in the center of the ring if you're not Roman Reigns?
Yep.
Probably not that many people. So
yeah. So I think that's the way to go for that, and it ultimately is building up. What I think the inevitability is in WrestleMania 40. Which I think it still has to be Cody and Roman. I mean, unless for whatever reason they want to pivot, and we can dive into the Roman Jay match. Give Jay the title. I don't think it's going to happen. We can dive into that. But for whatever reason, they want to pivot Roman, and he drops the championship because maybe he actually gets the match with The Rock at the next WrestleMania, which doesn't mean a title, obviously. No. I can see them having Cody get the number 1 contendership, but I don't see Cody beating Jay or facing Jay for the title. Like, I don't know. Like, nothing against Jay. I think he is one of 4 guys that I could see beating Roman. But at the same time, in the same breath, I don't see him main eventing a WrestleMania with Cody for the title.
I don't either. So wait,
we can dive into that match, but yeah.
We will. So you have Cody in this match, though?
I have Cody, yeah. I have Cody.
Okay, yeah, I have Cody, too. Like you said, I think a clean finish would be the best for this. Let's get into it, because I'm ready. I'm primed. Roman Reigns with whoever's left, Solo, Paul Heyman, whoever's willing to be friends with Roman at this point, versus Jey Uso, Tribal Combat, undisputed WWE Universal Championship, and more importantly, the recognition of being the Tribal Chief. If you say this is a street fight, and I would agree with you. Look, we had 50 million different guys come in the Bad Bunny Damian Priest match. Give me Rikishi, potentially give me The Rock, give me Jimmy Uso, give me Sammy, give me as many pieces of the Bloodline storyline that you could fit in to this match, and I'm all on board. Yep. However, I do think now I will ask you this: who? You said Cody was one of the ones that you could see beating Roman. Who were the other 3?
So I'm sorry. So 3 total. It'd be Cody, it'd be Jay, and it'd be Solo.
Oh, because I thought you were saying Cody, Jay, Solo, and Gunther, because I think Gunther's the only other legitimate guy that could.
Yeah, but there's just no story there.
Well, no. He's not. I'm not saying he's ready to do it now, but I think believability, if they build him up, if he won the Royal Rumble, say, and really fought through and beat some guys and had to defeat Solo and some crazy... Like, I think they could build Gunther to where I could believe it, but I don't think he's there now. So I would agree. There are only 3 that are built into this current story, which would be Solo, Jay, and Cody.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Roman takes this. If I'm gonna pick one legend to come out for this, I would wager Rikishi. I harken back to the one-on-one I Quit Hell in a Cell match in the pandemic, when this really kind of kicked off the Bloodline storyline, when Jimmy, I think he threw the towel in, but it was just more of a, you can't do this. And that's how the Bloodline kind of got formed. So if Jay is getting his ass handed to him by hook or by crook, I do think you could see their father come out and be like, what are we doing? And if Roman takes out Rikishi, I don't know that it's so tough for me to just talk about this and not just automatically say, okay, well, it's recognition of the Tribal Chief. The Rock is clearly the Tribal Chief here.
Yeah.
Why isn't he in?
Yeah. Completely agree. And I think that there's an opportunity for Rock to come back, in this match to do that. I mean, and realistically, I think was it an I Quit match at Hell in a Cell, right? With Jay and Roman,
yeah,
and then
it was in the Hell in a Cell, but it was an I Quit match.
Yeah, and I again, you could be right about the towel, but I think what happened was, didn't Jay say I quit so he would relieve the choke lock on Jimmy, because Jimmy was injured at that time. So I think Jay saved his brother Jimmy. I could be wrong,
I'm gonna tell you right now.
yeah, but nonetheless, as you look that up, I think
Yeah.
a lot of people were saying Jimmy should turn on Jay and align himself. I don't want that to happen. Because Jay is saying, I'm doing this for Jimmy, and I know Jimmy can say, I don't need you to do anything for me. I'm technically the older brother by how many ever minutes, whatever it is. But I think the twin thing, whenever you try to break up twins, it's so forced and it's so interesting because it's not as believable to me. And this is coming from somebody who has friends that are twins, and there's competition there, but there's no like negativity because they're kind of oddly like so connected to each other. So I don't want to see Jimmy turn on Jay just to align himself with Roman. But I think at the end of the day, Roman's going to pick up the win here. I think what will happen is Roman might go away for a month or two because he's not advertised for Payback or Fastlane. So that gives the opportunity for the World Heavyweight Championship to be escalated, whatever Cody's next feud is be escalated. And on SmackDown, I can easily see them putting more emphasis on what happens with Solo by himself, So Paul's going to be with Solo, so we'll see.
In what way would Roman be written off though? Like how does he not, is he going to show up every week and not be at the PLEs? Like I have no problem with him not wrestling there, but he has to. If he wins this match, he has to still. He can't just not be there.
Well, I mean, there's been times where it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row that he won't be there. True. So that's what I mean by written off.
But for 2 straight PLEs, that's where I have like just some sort of issue with. I don't know.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
It's not that he couldn't do it, but I just don't know if I have the confidence in the creative side to make it happen. So this is what happened. Roman was going to attack Jay, who was already unconscious with steel steps. Jimmy stopped him or told him to stop. Roman showed remorse, but then he gave Jimmy the guillotine, and Jay said, "I quit," to prevent that from happening. And it's funny. I said Rikishi should come out for this. The Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika, came out on the ramp and celebrate with Reigns as, the tribal chief. So that would be a perfect button to tap into. Rikishi's the dad of all 3 of the Usos and Solo.
Do you find it interesting that he's not been involved yet?
On screen,
it's been 3
no,
years.
because I don't find it. I find it. So I complain about the creative no confidence. They have gone this long. So that's the other thing. They've gone this long. They haven't used Rikishi. They haven't used The Rock. They haven't even had to, at the same time do that. So and maybe I'm right then. If Rikishi comes out there and then, we eventually do get The Rock by Mania, because I have officially put my line of demarcation at Mania 40. If Rock doesn't come back at that show or lead up to have a match at that show, I'm giving up all hope on The Rock coming back to WWE for the storyline. So if that's the case and they save these guys for the very bitter end to make this honestly the greatest storyline in the history of WWE, if they were to bring out those 2 guys at some point in the next couple months, that would really solidify that. So I could see Rikishi doing something here. I don't know if he'll get involved. I don't know his physical limitations at this point. I don't know how old he is, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what his physical limitations are either. But
Rikishi's 57, so he's really not that old.
He might be able to take a bump.
Yeah, he might take a bump. Roman could give him a bump. That's that could be something. So I like Roman here. I think again we're gonna get some crazy drama at the end of it. I don't know. I guess I'll ask you this now. What do you think closes the show?
Oh, Roman for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting him in a tag team match, and main eventing that at Super Showdown, or not Super Showdown, Crown Jewel, whatever it was called.
Right.
He's anytime that Roman has been billed on a pay-per-view, he has to main event, even if it's not for the World Championship, and this is for the World Championship. So and I think it was on Busted Open, one of the things that they said was they'd like to see a lot of the family just ringside. And I think that's a great idea. Having, maybe Rikishi can't be physically involved, but
have the Rocket ringside.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
Look, the Rock's sitting behind the. Look, Rock's in
the Rod Samoans, Rikishi, the Rock's mom. Bring Tamina. I mean,
there you go. Yeah, bring everybody.
Funny guy over here, Juice. You're a funny guy. Juice Springsteen is funny.
For the main event of SummerSlam, we have a special guest commentator, and it's Dwayne Johnson, star of Black Adam.
That's hilarious.
I mean, yeah. So I like that though too. I think that's almost easier because they're making it quote tribal combat, and it's for the title and the tribal chief recognition. It's almost as if they have to pregame the match by having people around, and that kind of sets it up as you don't have to have people interfere because we're all expecting that. So have them already out there. But I still think we could see a Sammy, or I guess if KO's hurt, he couldn't do it. But a Sammy and I guess Jimmy maybe. Is Jimmy able to, anybody could come out and if it's tribal combat, I would wager it is a street fight. So
Yep.
It's going to be rocking, man. I don't know. I think the crowd's going to be crazy. LA Knight's going to get a huge pop. I think Logan Paul Ricochet to start the night's a great move. If Cody wins clean, I think that's great for the crowd. Give me Seth and Finn. You might have a Money in the Bank cash in. You could have a world title change. And then who knows with Batista, Undertaker, and The Rock coming out at SummerSlam. You heard it here first. The crowd should be unglued for this. So I'm thrilled for it, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know you have a wedding, but hey, people got to get married. So congratulations.
I guess so. But no, that's going to be I'll be at the wedding during this, but I'll be watching it as soon as I get home from the wedding. Maybe a little inebriated, mind you, but I'm looking forward to watching this.
Doesn't sound like you.
Me never. But I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot of great things to look forward to for SummerSlam, the outcomes, and also, again, just the continued stories. I mean, WrestleMania only really created more storylines after, and I think SummerSlam is going to do the same thing. So looking forward to it, Juice. I hope you enjoy it, and maybe after Payback, what's the next one? Fastlane, we'll be able to reconvene at the Isenberg residence, you and myself. So.
Oh, absolutely. I was like, what do you mean Payback? But we're gonna be at the show, so there's no need to watch it at your residency.
Yeah, I'll be.
So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it too. Once again, love these Saturday night PLEs. I think it's great.
The best.
Yeah, and then the end of this month, we've got All In, Payback, and All Out within an 8-day span. So SummerSlam's just the start of it, man. Hell of a month of pro wrestling coming for the world here. So
yes, sir.
I love doing these PLE predictions with you, man. This is great fodder. You bring great opinions, and always a good time talking to you, man. So I appreciate you showing up.
Of course, man. We'll talk to you soon, Juice. Love you, buddy.
Absolutely. This has been the Juice Box, the SummerSlam prediction show with Josh Isenberg. You can follow him at Josh Isenberg 4 on Twitter. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. This has been the Juice Box. Hope you guys enjoy SummerSlam this weekend. And I'll see you guys next time for another rendition of the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.